Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
I woke up this morning.
Me too.
And I was like, I don't know where to start today. And then I got it. Something's different in Toronto. Something's different in the air up there in Toronto.
Canada Day, bro.
Yeah, that is true. Canada. That is a great point, Dallas. It was Canada Day.
Canada Day.
But the electricity in the air after that George Springer grand slam against the Yankees, what have you. Everyone will be like, oh, it's just because it's against the Yankees and you hate the... No. George Springer,
fair
grand slam, Toronto on Canada Day to get the Jays within a game of first place.
Yeah.
First place, we're talking about the Jays. That's very impressive. One, it's like you can make the case, did the Blue Jays rise to the Yankees or did the Yankees fall to the Blue Jays? I say a little bit of both. I say it's a little bit of both. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The Jays had to play good ball to meet them in the middle. The Yankees not playing great. They're panicking. This is the part of the year where Yankee fans put together these ridiculous trade proposals for like all the best players in the league and then get none of them. Like it's that time of the year right now. But if you're the Toronto Blue Jays or their fans, you have to be excited about how things are going right now.
Well, Jared, this was a big series for obvious reasons. And the fact that this is what's kind of crazy about it is the Jays have done this quietly. The Jays have done this quietly because it's been about the Yankees and the role they were on, then the Yankees and Aaron Judge on a skid. And then you just start to understand that the Yankees are as good as Aaron Judge is going to be, regardless of anybody else and how they're playing. And that has had the gap close significantly. I mean, the Jays went from, I believe, a negative run differential to a very, very lowly, still yet positive run differential during that span. They've won 7 out of their last 10. This is a team that was overshadowed by, I think, the surge that the Rays were on, the fact that the Red Sox have been ass at portions of this season and like ass to butthole, like they've been variations of bad. And then the Baltimore Orioles just frankly being non-existent and non-competitive in the division right now. So it feels like there's been more conversation around teams not performing well. And the Blue Jays have just quietly said, it's all good. We're just going to keep rolling the balls out there and doing what we do. And they have quietly closed that gap to now, would you say they're a game out of the division?
Singular game.
They have leapfrogged the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yes, they have by a half game.
Yeah. Because the Rays have dropped 2 out of 3 here at home to the fucking Atleticos, bro.
Wow.
So that's how that goes.
You mentioned the run differential. It's +4. Jayhay, would this indicate to you that the run that the Toronto Blue Jays are on is not sustainable?
No, I think this is a pretty compelling situation. To respond to a few things you guys said, I think you're right that it's a mix of the Yankees and the Blue Jays playing up/playing down, but I think it really is more that the Blue Jays are playing up. The Yankees are currently on a 91 win pace. I think that jives with what everyone's expectations were for the Yankees specifically and the top of this division to start the season. I don't think that's far off. I think the Blue Jays winning at a 553 pace, which over the course of 162 would put them on pace to win almost 90 games, just shy of, I think is way above what anyone expected of them. So I think that, to be fair, I think we have to give them credit. Dallas said they've done it quietly. I think that's also true. I think that has to do with how they're succeeding, particularly offensively. Like the formula here so far this season has largely been, we're not giving plate appearances to bad players, right? There is not an MVP candidate on this roster right now, and there is no one receiving significant playing time other than their biggest offseason signing in Anthony Santander, who has been bad. Everyone who's getting playing time has been average, good to very good in some cases, with Alejandro Kirk, who and Vlad Jr. has had a very good season. But Alejandro Kirk, if you look at the advanced stats, has been their best position player. And I have to admit that it caught me off guard when I was looking at it earlier this morning and actually a little bit last night as it relates to Kirk specifically. But he's hit 343, 404, 490. That's an 893 OPS since going all the way back to May 10th, which is obviously not a small sample at this point. He's one of the 10 best players in the American League by wins above replacement. He's sandwiched between Riley Green and tied with Jay Willie. So he's having an outstanding season. I think it's more sustainable than not, honestly. Like I think for circumstantial reasons that the AL is muddled in ways that we've talked about pretty extensively on this podcast, but also because of what I said. I think they have constructed a roster that is basically absent big holes. And is that a championship formula? I don't know, but it is a formula to get you to 85, 88, possibly 90 wins.
And I got a name for you to throw into this mix here.
Ooh.
And this is a guy who has, again, quietly chugged along and quietly just done his job. And I think when guys like this show up and do this kind of work, you are taken aback because you're thinking, wow, really? Is Ernie Clement a major part of this offense and what they're doing? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Ernie Clement has been outstanding for the Toronto Blue Jays. Outstanding. He had the series of his fucking life against us. We could not get Ernie Clement out. And when I tell you that, I mean Ernie Clement, I believe, got out twice the entire series. The entire fucking series. This dude has been balling. So yeah, Ernie Clement, also a big part of what the Blue Jays have been able to do. To your point, Jayhay, about not just giving away at bats to other players. It seems like Ernie Clement has proven and continued to show them, hey, I'm the dude. Give me the at bats. I will do the job.
How crazy is it that we're talking about the Toronto Blue Jays resurgence and getting within a game of first place, and we haven't even uttered the name of the player that they gave $500 million to?
Yeah. Well, this is all part about having a supporting cast, man. At times, that guy is going to be able to put the entire offense on their shoulders for a couple weeks at a time, for maybe a month at a time. And that's when you see a good team go on a great run.
Well,
but I think when we talk about this team slowly but surely just continuing to play a specific brand of baseball, you have to acknowledge guys like Alejandro Kirk. You have to acknowledge guys like Ernie Clement, because those are the guys who are doing some of the heavy lifting. I don't want to say the majority of the heavy lifting, but a lot of it. If you're not going to be opining about Vlad Guerrero during this run, and if Bo Bichette is not a dude who's jumping off the page at you during that run, well, then who are the guys? You know, I mean, fuck George Springer. And I just checked with Elias. The 7 RBIs on Canada Day. I believe that's a record on Canada Day. Is what they're telling me.
Wow, direct line to Elias. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
It's funny too, because if we'd had this Toronto Blue Jays podcast conversation on Monday, I probably would have pointed to, like, when Jared asked, is this going to sustain? It would have been like, well, George Springer's performance probably won't sustain. He's been a lot better than I thought. And then, 2 homers, 7 RBI on Tuesday. So, when you record these things is matters. But, Vlad has been, I think, underwhelming relative to the standard of a $500 million contract or what he did last season to get everybody salivating. But he's got a 134 weighted runs created plus. And, like, I like to have a little fun at Vlad's expense, but that's the 14th best mark in the AL. So it's not like, he's schlubbing it along. The balls just aren't clearing the fence at quite the same rate that they were last season. And it looks a little bit more like his pre-2024 work. He's still their best offensive player. He's still a huge part of what they're doing. And yeah, he's technically third on the team in F-WAR or whatever. But, I don't think anybody would dispute that he's still probably their most important player. And, a lot of the stuff that they have going on the offensive side that we've talked about, I think is largely true. Maybe not quite as true, but largely true on the pitching side too, because the guys who are taking the ball outside of Francis have been exceptionally competent for them. And we know those names. It's Bassett, Gausman, and Berrios, but that they've gotten more life out of that veteran trio in a moment where it felt like it could go either way entering this season for some of those guys, is, I think, significant as well.
Well, and it's happening even with Bowden Francis taking his lumps in the
he
rotation,
stinks.
right? Because he's
hurt.
He's growing pains.
Yeah, well, yeah. That I guess if he's hurt, I can't say he stinks because now he's hurt. But before he got hurt, he stunk. No offense.
Yeah, no offense. You think we'll ever see Alek Manoah again?
I don't know. Probably not in a Blue Jay uniform.
I had not thought about him one single time this season. No.
He's throwing bullpens and stuff, right? Like down at the complex.
Yeah.
Is that
I mean,
encouraging?
imagine if you had any semblance of all-star Alek Manoah as part of this rotation, like you're 3-4 games up.
Yeah, things look quite a bit different with that extra arm.
Doesn't this feel like a team that might be really aggressive in the trade market too? Maybe not specifically for an arm, but just in general.
Well, could be. Jayhay, I don't know. I mean, look, I understand what they need offensively too, but you have to start here. You have to start here in the rotation.
Yeah, I guess I just come back to, like, I agree, because like part of what we said about the offense is that it has a lack of holes, right? So if you're going to say that, then that also means that those offenses tend to be more difficult to upgrade, right? Because it's hard to upgrade on average in a meaningful way, particularly at not great expense. I do think they have some spots where they could get some more impactful players at some pretty low cost options, I think, offensively still. But yeah, I do wonder, like, we've had this conversation, like, what pitchers are going to become available? Does that person make a difference for a Toronto Blue Jays team? I think the answer is yes, even if it's, of the Alcantara variety. But, I guess we'll see. They were very aggressive in trying to add talent during the offseason, and I don't know why that wouldn't persist into the season.
Do you think the
Especially
Orioles would trade in the division if it were a rental? Like, I feel like Cedric Mullins being an upgrade over Miles Straw is somewhere I would look.
That's an awesome suggestion. And I think I don't have any intel on the Orioles and how they are going to approach it. But if you're not willing to trade Cedric Mullins within the division for a package that you think is the best package, I think that's malpractice. This is not a franchise legend. This is not Cal Ripken Jr. This is all due respect. Rental. Yeah, it's Cedric Mullins, who's had a very nice run. Mullins guy tonight, all that sort of fun stuff. But like, yeah. But yeah, if that's the best offer, I think you have to be willing to move him to the Blue Jays, and I think that's a great call out by you in terms of fit and need and all that sort of stuff.
It would be nice. Yeah, I would say that there's many spots that could be upgraded in the outfield. Like, no disrespect to anyone that's an outfielder for the Toronto Blue Jays, but it's you don't have like your cornerstone guy isn't in the outfield; he's in the infield, and there's room for that.
Maybe all of your cornerstone guys are in the infield, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. But it sounds like you're trying to talk me into Alejandro Kirk in my pick'em today, Jayhay. That's what it sounds like you're trying to do.
Listen, man, it's not. He's as hot as any player in baseball, almost. I would strongly suggest it.
I'm going to strongly consider it because MLB season's in full swing, and Underdog Fantasy wants to make it a lot more interesting. I'm trying to make it a lot more interesting, because I keep winning. Like, my pick'ems are just nice. Not like that Dallas bullshit where he's just like, oh, I don't know. I might pick this guy that sucks and that guy that sucks because I don't care about the people that ride with me.
I've been on a roll the last 3 days, 4 days, whatever it's been.
Would you win one?
Buddy, I haven't lost in a week. What are you talking about?
That's true. That is technically true. He hasn't cost anyone any money.
Wow. Congrats. Yeah, I'm sure those pick'ems with one player in them. Would you do a 1-player pick'em? 2-player?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Make sure you sign up with the promo code Jared. That's JARED to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a special pick on Underdog. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code Jared. Here's the deal. Tonight could be the night for my guy, Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw, 3K, the pursuit. And it's against the White Sox. So, I don't know how we're going to do this because we have Section 10, but I could try to pop out when he's on the bump. Just because, I mean, how many does he need? When he's one away, I can pop in. Right? He needs 2, 3. 2?
Needs 3. 3 strikeouts. 3.
Well,
3.
With the benefit of playback, which is what we use for Tied in the 8th, and we did a live stream a couple Fridays back. We want to be a part of history. We want to be together for Clayton Kershaw's 3,000th strikeout. I want these idiots who have been doubting Clayton Kershaw his entire career. I want them to see what greatness looks like tonight. I want them to have a front row seat to my guy Clayton riding that wave into the 3,000 strikeout club, which, I mean, we're talking rarefied air here. I'm sure when he does it tonight, we'll have the conversation on tomorrow's podcast, just putting it in historical perspective. Thanks to the great Justin Havens. There's no need to get into that now. He hasn't accomplished it yet, but he will, and he'll do it tonight. And we'll do everything that we can to bring you the live content reactions to Clayton Kershaw's 3,000th strikeout. Someone that I would say, like, if I'm the number 1 Clayton Kershaw guy, I would put Dallas Braden as the number 2 Shohei Ohtani guy, right behind Ben Verlander. Last night, Dallas,
30.
Shohei Ohtani hit his 30th home run. It's 5 straight seasons with at least 30 home runs. I saw Sarah Langs had some data on the home run. It was one of those nerd stats. It was like, it's the hardest hit ball at this launch angle in the history of StatCast or something like that. He hits the ball so fucking hard. Who was it that we were talking to? Oh, Cal Raleigh was talking about like who, like, in the league does it just sound different? You have a front row seat to some of these guys swinging like and making contact with the ball. Immediately he went to Shohei. Yeah. Like the I guess like the sound that his bat makes as it's whipping through the zone, and then the ball when he makes contact, it's just different. It's very different.
If you've ever, and this is how you compare it, and this is where you go, oh wow. If you've ever played golf competitively for fun, shit-faced on a Sunday, it does, like, if you've ever played golf, you have heard the of a backswing. Right. And what that is, or not the backswing, but that's of the club head coming through the zone, the striking zone, if you will. That is what you're hearing with a 34-ounce bat. 35-ounce bat is the bat head breaking air and just coming through in a thunderous fashion and annihilating baseballs. It's extremely impressive, and it's very hard to do, to generate that kind of force and do so consistently. But yeah, and who else did he say? Jorge Soler?
Yeah, he said Soler. Yep.
But
that nerd nugget was 116.3 miles per hour and 42 degrees. It's the hardest hit home run with at least a 36-degree launch angle under StatCast since 2015. So, obviously we all know that.
42 degrees?
It was hit at 42 degrees. It was hit at the homer itself was hit at 116 miles an hour and 42 degrees. She set the baseline, Sarah did, even lower at 36 at 36 degrees.
Sure.
And it's still the hardest hit homer. Even obviously it would be the hardest hit homer at 42 degrees as well. Does that make sense?
It's bananas, dude. Yeah. No, it makes total sense. Total. Yeah.
I was kind of rambling.
That's just that is catching that ball. I mean, fucking perfectly. To hit a ball that hard at that angle, bro, that's ridiculous.
I will say this.
That is ridiculous. Again,
as someone who's not a complete nerd, it's hard to feel like, oh my God, he did what? Like, I don't get the perspective, like the context.
So again, the best, your optimal angle to clip a homer between 19 and 29 degrees. That is the optimal window for you to leave the ballpark in, right? A ball hit 95 or greater in that angle. I don't want to say you're almost guaranteed to hit a homer, but that is your optimal homer window. So now you think about a ball, all right, a 36-degree launch angle. You start to see in your head, like, oh, ball hit like that, maybe not a great chance of going out. It's a hard hit ball. It's a high fly ball, and it's caught at the wall. And that's all based on exit velocity. So now when you start to creep up even higher, 42 degrees, like, okay, that's a ball that's caught like 300 feet out in the outfield. Well, not if you hit it 120 fucking miles an hour. that thing is going to go a long way. And that's exactly what happened. And so that, like, I always just think like protractor, right? And think the angles, and you're like, oh my, or like, that's crazy.
Well, not to open up some absolute nerd conversation, but doesn't the fact that he's taller, like, isn't his like 29 degrees different from Jose Altuve's 29 degrees? Because it's starting from a higher point.
Because his swing is starting from a different point?
Yeah, he's taller.
Yeah, no, I mean, but at the
like
angle
if you shoot something out of a cannon from lower in the ground at 29 degrees, and then you shoot something out of a cannon from 29 degrees that's like 2 feet higher than that, like the one that's 2 feet higher is gonna go farther. No,
but I mean, that's where you would start to have to figure out where they've made contact with those pitches. So, to lift a baseball from down low and create that launch angle is different than maybe being able to meet the baseball at a certain height. And then from there, like, think about elevating a ball high in the zone at 42 degrees. That's really tough to do. That is really tough to do. So you almost have to think about where the pitch is located. But no, I think the ball coming off the bat at a certain degree is universal.
Okay.
I know what you're saying is if you were to launch two objects from different points, but no, like the contact zone where they're making contact at, that is the variable that you're looking for.
Sure. Fucking geeks. I don't know, man. Go beat it with your calculators. Jacob deGrom has kept it rolling. I understand it was against the Baltimore Orioles, not a very good baseball team, but it is another outing of 6 innings. He has pitched at least into the 6th inning every start since May 10th. He has completed at least 6 innings in every start since the beginning of June. This one was 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned, gave up a homer, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. So now we are looking at a sample of 14 starts of a 177 ERA, a 253 FIP. Dallas, we need you to get it together, brother.
It's making me excited. Sorry.
87 strikeouts in 86 and 2/3 innings. So a strikeout per inning. And he has lowered his ERA. Actually, it went up. It's 2.13 on the year. What a bum. He's got a 2.13 ERA. And for the first time since the 2019 season, he has eclipsed 100 innings in a big league season. So things continue to trend onward and upward for Jacob deGrom.
And it's lovely to see because he is right in the heart of that window of starts that we talked about. Like, how many do you really expect? How many can you expect from Jacob deGrom? 10, 20? And what's he at right now? 17 starts under his belt.
Yep.
And this window, this chunk of work that we're talking about is sans 3 starts, his first 3 starts of the year. And his second and third start are the only 2 starts this entire season where he's yielded more than 3 runs. He gave up 3 runs against Seattle in a loss over 4 innings. and he gave up 4 runs in a win against Tampa. Outside of that, it's been 2 or fewer for the remainder of the work. And he is every bit of why the Rangers are competitive. This is what we expected to see if Jacob deGrom was healthy and back. There was curiosity about what the dominance factor was going to look like, and were we going to see any sort of step back there because of his openness to talk about, stepping or letting off the gas a little bit. It's 100 punch outs and 101 and a third innings. Command, 21 walks in those 101 innings, 101 and third. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch for Jacob deGrom. Crushing it for my fantasy, him and Cal Raleigh.
Jay?
Yeah, I sort of went into some of the things I found interesting statistically last time, but I now think it's cool that, we're witnessing one of the most dominant pitching stretches in Texas Rangers franchise history. And for anybody who's been listening to this podcast long enough to remember when we've done Mount Rushmores and stuff like that, the Rangers pitching history is not exactly the richest in Major League Baseball history. But it does have some dudes. And in fact, Jacob deGrom's 14 start stretch that Jared referenced earlier, he's allowed 54 hits over that stretch. That is the fewest over any 14 start stretch in a single season for a Rangers pitcher since the man you're all probably expecting to hear, Nolan Ryan, in 1991. So I don't really remember baseball in 1991. I was 6 years old. So if you don't like allowing hits and allowing runs, you could argue that this is maybe the most dominant Ranger stretch over a admittedly arbitrary 14 start stretch that anybody on this podcast has ever seen. Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
In terms of his career renaissance and painting the next chapter and all that sort of stuff. I think that's
the cool part about it. Like if he had done this 2019 or prior, it would be like another day at the office for Jacob deGrom. The fact that he's doing this in 2025 after all that he's been through is why it's so cool.
And the whole resurgence part, when you think about from a fan perspective, this is their moment where they're getting to watch a guy dominate, and in their mind, this might be their favorite Ranger that they watch play because of this dominant run that he's on. Exciting for a fan's perspective.
Yeah. On the opposite end of the spectrum of dominance, Dallas, you got to get out of here.
Yeah, I do. I got to get out of here before we go. Got to get some love to Colby Thomas, who just debuted for the Athletics, entered the game as a pinch hitter, but had the game dumped right in his lap as he was out in the field, left field, first ball to him, first play he's got to make, sells out, makes an incredible throw at home to gun the runner down. And from there, the Athletics go on to win the ball game. And that doesn't happen without his incredible fucking throw. It was just sick to watch. Full sellout janitor throw, just on the money. It was fabulous. And the Athletics also got old Shea Bangaliers back in the mix, and he burst right back onto the scene. A couple long balls, hit a homer yesterday, and picked off Jose Caballero at third base in a pivotal spot in the game, and then threw his ass out again at second base in an even bigger spot, it felt like. So welcome back, old Bangaliers, as the boys in green and gold go for the sweep today against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Also, that janitor throw kept the game tied, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Kept the game. It was game saving. If he doesn't make that play, game's over.
Yeah. All right, go enjoy your A's baseball.
I will.
Have a great day, Dallas. Weird start time.
I'm gone.
Yeah, bye, Dallas.
Yeah, 12.
Yeah, weird start time. Yeah, I hate that. I got on the 4th, I think the Sox are at 11 in the morning. No baseball. Who tweeted that the other day? Someone tweeted that the other day. No baseball game should start this early.
Hard disagree. Couldn't disagree with you more, actually.
You by 11 a.m., that's 7 p.m. to most people, to you.
Yeah, I'm fading pretty hard by 11. I would love to have wall to wall every day, or at least a sampling of baseball in the early stuff. I liked that little Sunday 11 o'clock start. They tried to do that little soccer thing.
Yeah.
I guess that's no more. That deal faded or whatever, or opted out. But I would be supportive of more of that kind of stuff.
Wow.
I don't need 8 games at one time or 10 games.
No,
at one
I
time.
agree. I mean, me personally, I love it for my setup. It's just aesthetically pleasing to have all the TVs cooking with a game on it, but it's hard to follow at times.
Yeah, I would just, sometimes daytime watching is the best watching. And
yeah.
Anyway.
Congratulations to the Colorado Rockies.
Mm-hmm.
They have gone 203 consecutive games, allowing at least 1 run, which is the longest streak without a shutout in the modern era. Congratulations to the Colorado Rockies. That's incredible.
That's really cool.
Yeah. What a feat. What a feat.
They're setting the standard, aren't they? In a lot of ways.
They really are. They surpassed the St. Louis Browns, who had previously held the record for 199 games between 1939 and 1940.
I love this part of the shitty teams season tracking, where people get tired of talking about just how like standard issue bad a team is, and like their wins and losses are no longer shocking. 19 and 66. It's like, oh, that's really bad. But like, we've sort of done the through X number of game stuff, and we just moved to like, this team hasn't registered a shutout in 15 years or whatever it is. Obviously it's not 15 years, but I like how there was that window too, like a couple of weeks ago, where they won 4 straight, and it looked like, hey, maybe like something here, and then they've proceeded to lose, I believe, 9 of 11 since then. So good for them.
Yeah, a little Rockies standings update. Colorado Rockies have yet to reach 20 wins in the year. They are 19 and 66. They have a negative 222 run differential, and they're only 34 and a half games back at first place right now. So,
well, and I think Chase Dollander, like, never want to bail on a prospect too early, and I'm certainly not bailing on him. I guess I don't really care enough to bail or not bail, but one of the best pitching prospects in baseball, supposedly, and certainly their best pitching prospect. And, he just comes up and he just feels like he gets shelled every time he pitches. So, little disappointing.
Yeah, just a tad.
Just a 6.65 ERA through your first 14. A little disappointing.
Yeah. How is that more or less disappointing than being an Atlanta Braves fan today, waking up knowing that the Miami Marlins have passed you in the division standings?
Oh, I think the Braves situation has to be more disappointing than the Rockies overall, or Dollander. I don't know. If you put that much stock in a Rockies pitching prospect, I think you were destined to be disappointed anyway. But yeah, the Braves, I didn't see this season coming, and I think everybody just anticipated that they would get back in the mix, and we've sort of noted that that's not really happening. And part of that's the quality of the teams in the division, but it's not like the Mets haven't given them a chance to get back in it to some degree, right? And
sure,
we're now talking about them legitimately being, temporarily probably, but a half game behind the Marlins, which is, completely ridiculous. Also should note the Marlins have won 8 straight, so congrats to them. That's a big part of this, but that we're having that conversation at all, and that they're still really 11. The takeaway for me, the Marlins thing is like a funny hook, but the story overall is that they're still 11 and a half games out of the division on July 2nd. And, how many, what are we at? 7.5 games out of a wild card spot. So they're not making any progress. We got the news that Chris Sale was transferred to the 60-day, which means officially he's out until sometime in late August at least, which is really tough. And yeah, I don't know. This season may just kind of run out on these guys eventually.
At this point, the only teams with a worse record in the National League are the Pirates, the Nationals, and the Rockies. Like, that's where you're at. Those are the teams that you're looped in with. Not
And
good.
they got Grant Holmes last night, who did, I mean, he had that 15 strikeout performance earlier in the season. He got another 10 on 27 swings and misses last night, which is the third highest total by any pitcher in Major League Baseball this season in a start, and they lost 4-0.
This is the Marlins' longest winning streak since what year, Jayhay?
Oh, geez. I honestly have no idea, so I'm just going to take a stab and say it's their longest winning streak since Christian Yelich was on the team.
Before Yelich.
Wow. It's their longest winning streak since Charles Johnson was catching for them.
Ooh, I think it might have been after Charles Johnson.
Okay, so I got to split it.
But yeah, it's somewhere in the middle.
I was being
Charles
a little
Johnson.
funny, but
Well, I mean, you're not that far off. Charles Johnson, I want to say his last season with the Marlins was like 2005.
yeah, I think you're right. Last season with the Marlins was 02. I'm looking now. I didn't know this. Last season was 02. His last season in baseball was 05.
05. Okay, yeah, he played through 05. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So this is after Charles Johnson.
Jose Fernandez era.
Pre Jose Fernandez.
All right. Luis Castillo.
Luis Castillo. Was he on this team? No, he was not.
Let's see. I will say the longest win streak since
Mm-hmm.
the Dontrell Willis era,
Ooh.
2005.
Dontrell Willis had already moved on to greener pastures in Detroit by this season.
Damn it. 2009, Josh Johnson.
Ooh, off by a year.
2008
Yes.
Marlins. Yes.
The longest winning streak since the 2008 Florida Marlins. They weren't the Miami Marlins yet. You may remember Jorge Cantu getting it done over at third base. Hanley Ramirez at shortstop. Dan Uggla. Nice little double play combo at second base.
This team sucked. Jeez.
Yeah, the cheerful Cody Ross in center field. Jeremy Hermida. Jeremy Hermida was supposed to be somebody.
Oh, very much so. Yep.
Yeah, Hermida was supposed to be somebody. Did not end up being somebody, but
I mean, this is Hanley's prime, man. I loved Hanley in the Marlins.
Prime Hanley was special.
33, 35 this year.
Andrew Miller was a starting pitcher. The Ricky Nolasco years. Hey, he had a good year that year, Ricky Nolasco.
He did. That's just a tough staff ace. No offense to Ricky.
They had two dudes go 200 innings that year.
Yeah. Scott Olson.
Yeah. Scott Olson rolled out a 201 and 2/3 inning season, good for a 1.6 WAR. That's tough. Yeah, it was a 502 FIP.
Can't win them all.
No, you really can't. You really can't.
Although the Marlins are. Who's to say they won't just keep winning?
Yeah. This team wasn't bad. The 2008 Marlins won 84 games.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't think this team's going to get there, but I think an 8-game win streak is already probably more than anyone was thinking.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to take the under on 84 wins for the 2025 squad.
No question.
Yeah.
Way under.
Yeah. But either way, it's worth noting that the Braves are in this position. Who do you think's their most realistic, valuable trade asset? Like, obviously, Ronald Acuna Jr. is that, but you don't think that they're going to trade him. So who's realistic, their most valuable piece?
It's a fascinating question because it's breathtaking the level of degradation that's happened to some of what were intended to be core players of this roster. Like I saw a writer affiliated with the Braves. Like I don't know what his exact capacity is, but he has covered the team for a long time. Tweet out last week the idea that the Braves may decline Ozzie Albies' option for next season, which
I did see that.
I confirmed was $7 million in order to I think there's a buyout. They would save $3 million by not exercising what this is going on, I believe is the number. That like blew my mind as much as any contract related nugget that I'd seen recently, because I when he signed that deal and we all like, I felt a little gross about like, and maybe I shouldn't, but like, that's how that contract made me feel. It's been cited as an example of a player being taken advantage of. Never in my wildest dreams that I see a future where the Braves were declining a $7 million option on Ozzie Albies. That would make you think that his trade value, if they were that soured on him. And at this point, as much as I would like to root for Ozzie Albies, I think that's a pretty fair stance to take if you're souring on the guy. I mean, he's been bad this season, and we're now, since the start of 24, he has a 666 OPS and 793 plate appearances. And Michael Harris is another guy who is also under contract for a significantly larger amount of money and a longer period of time than Ozzie Albies, and has been an even worse player this season in a lot of ways, and has just gone straight down since debuting in Major League Baseball, pretty much from a purely offensive standpoint. And we're now at a point where, like, you can decline to what he was in 2023, but he's got a 657 OPS and 800 plate appearances since the start of last season. This is a long, rambling way to say that I think their most tradable asset, and again, like Marcell Ozuna, I think would be the obvious answer to this question if we're talking about actual players that could have like impact or value. The problem is that you've heard rumblings about, various levels of banged up for Marcell Ozuna this year, and his hip, and that his OPS is 160 points lower than it was last season. Marcell Ozuna as a 900 OPS DH is an entirely different animal than Marcell Ozuna as a 750 OPS DH. And certainly the value is going to be limited in return there. I think this is actually more of like if we're going to sell, it's going to be bit pieces that ultimately don't matter. Unless they get to a point with some of their core players where they decide like it is genuinely time to move off of some of these people. And in that sense, I'm not even talking about Albies or really even Harris. I would be talking about, like, if you want to be bold, like, let's have an Austin Riley conversation, right? I mean, what is Austin Riley right now? Like, what's his value? What sort of player is he moving forward? We thought we knew exactly what he was from 21 to 23. He was among the most consistent offensive forces in the game. And you're thinking, well, that's age 24 to 26. Why wouldn't that continue into his mid to late 20s? And in fact, he has a 771 with a 113 OPS plus since the start of last season. You may notice all of these samples that I'm citing are generally since the start of last season, where more or less everything changed for the Braves offense, going from arguably the greatest offense of all time to something a lot less than that. So yeah, I don't think there's a massive move here unless you're going to get really, really bold, and Anthopoulos' comments seem to suggest that that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, he's not really that kind of guy. The Austin Riley thing is crazy, man. Like, I don't know if people remember just how good Austin Riley was those 2 years where actually it was a 3-year run.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking 2021 to 2023 Austin Riley, where he had an 18-7 WAR over 3 seasons, and he was averaging 37 home runs, 35 doubles, and 101 runs batted in. Yeah, that is quite the sample.
Yeah, and not to say like he's cooked or anything like overly dramatic like that, but we're also talking about he's on a long-term deal, and it's not for nothing money. It was $212 million at the time of signing. And it runs through 2032. So the vast majority of the money is still left on that deal. And I think, you could look at him a lot of different ways if you're the Braves or a potentially acquiring team. But what you can't avoid is that having, $180 million or so remaining on the contract is prohibitive for a number of trading partners that you would be dealing with. So this is all speculative, of course. Nobody said that they're going to trade him, but what his value is he a core part of this team? Can he be counted on to be like the true impact level performer that you cited before? I think is a fair question to ask.
I'll ask you a question, Jayhay.
All right.
Do you or do you not believe in the Arizona Diamondbacks at this point?
Do I believe in
the 43 and 42 plus 10 run differential fourth place Arizona Diamondbacks? Do you believe in them?
So I was very much a believer to start the season. I think if you're asking for a level of belief that rises to can they catch the Cardinals in a wild card race, I say I probably believe them to that level. Do I think this team has the same, I thought this team had championship level upside. Tough path to get there, obviously, in their division, as we've talked about. But at the start of the season, I thought they had championship level upside. I don't really see that outcome anymore. And I know that they made the World Series with a team that everybody, including myself, said didn't have that level of upside also. But I don't see it with the pitching staff, if I'm going to be honest, for a long, sustained run. I think the offense is, for the most part, legit or whatever. But I just think they're having a little bit of a moment. They're having a bounce back after a really rough stretch. And I think it's the teams below them are all generally trash. And I think they belong in the general grouping of teams like the Reds and the Cardinals and the Padres and the Giants that they're battling with. And I would order those a little bit differently or whatever, but I think they belong in that group. I just don't think they're ultimately going to have quite enough juice to get there. And I also wonder what is their appetite right now to push forward, because I think
I'll tell you right now.
Okay.
I'll tell you right now, because Jake McCarthy, well, he's got some words for people like you, Jay.
Yeah.
The doubters.
Right.
He's got some words for people like you.
As you head into July.
Let people doubt. I welcome it. Our team welcomes it. The people who want to count us out, who think we're done, they don't know shit. They don't know shit. I'll just leave it at that, all right?
You got it, Jake.
I love you guys.
Thank you. There's Jake McCarthy. We apologize.
Oh, okay. Jake McCarthy's saying people like you don't know shit.
Well, I didn't say that though.
You said they had no chance.
No,
you said
I
they had
didn't.
no chance. No, you said you didn't.
I said they have basically no championship equity, which I think is pretty much true.
What's the point of all this if it's not to win a championship?
Well, that would be a question for them, not me, I think. But the 29, they are given 29% odds to make the postseason per Fangraphs right now. That is fourth in their division. That is fractionally behind the Giants. That is like less than 3 percentage points behind the Giants. I don't think that's a hater take. So I'm not saying he's talking to Fangraphs. I don't know who he's talking to, but I just think this, I think the Diamondbacks are I know teams motivate and players motivate themselves by what's ever available. They are 10.5 back. They are 1 game over 500. And I think everybody is viewing them in exactly the way that they should be viewed. And if they need to look around and say, well, we don't have Corbin Burns anymore. We don't have this, we don't have that, then that's fine. But this is, it's not like there's a army of haters mounting against the Arizona Diamondbacks in their case for the postseason.
It's not what I'm seeing.
Well, we do have different feeds, I guess. So, maybe you're seeing other stuff. We have different friends. You and I are friends, but we have different mutual friends. So
for sure. Yeah.
Although some the same mutual friends,
yeah.
Shout out to Jake. Happy birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday, Jake.
Yesterday.
Yeah. I tweeted
We didn't
a
record
picture.
though, so.
I tweeted a picture of me and Jake yesterday. The number of people that are like, is Jake even in this picture? I'm like, what are you looking at? He's right there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, it was good. It was well framed. It was an appropriate picture for his birthday.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, Zach Allen has sucked this year.
Bad.
But he pitched very well last night.
He did.
Yep. 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned. didn't walk anyone, and he punched out 10
in a division rival game against the Giants. And yeah, I think, listen, what I said about the pitching, the caveat is that if Zach Gallen gets back to being the guy that he was for basically his entire run as a starting pitcher,
that has to happen.
Then that changes the equation for what they're capable of accomplishing. But if Zach Gallen's a 5+ ERA guy, then that's obviously a much different animal and a huge problem. But yeah, huge start last night.
Yeah. I mean, that's a non-negotiable. Like, Zach Gallen has to be Zach Gallen if this team is going to do anything. Speaking of the Giants, though, last thing for me.
Yep.
Shout out to Bomel. Giants picked up his option. He deserves it. One of the best managers in the game. And I got one of the best dogs in the game. Sometimes in life, if you want to get to the truth, you have to look at the numbers. Unfortunately, 50% of all dogs over 10 years old will die of cancer. The other 40 to 50% suffer miserably from skin issues or joint problems. This is widely attributed to your dog's diet. These numbers are what inspired Dr. Dennis Black to create Rough Greens. So here's the good news. With thousands of testimonials and 5-star reviews every month, Rough Greens is now the #1 all-natural dog supplement in America. They have helped millions of pups, like Ace, stay active and be healthy, and your pup could be next. You don't have to change your dog's food to improve your dog's health. Just add a scoop of Rough Greens, fetch a free Jumpstart trial bag for your dog today. All you have to do is cover shipping. Go to roughgreens.com and use the promo code BID. That's rough, RUFF greens.com, promo code BID. You don't have to change your dog's food to improve your dog's health. Just add a scoop of Rough Greens. Jayhay, you got any nugs?
You know I do. You wouldn't ask it if you didn't know the answer already.
That's
though.
true. You're right.
I'll start off with, since Langs was brought up, she had a fun little nugget last night. Seasons with 3 or more 30-plus homer players before the All-Star break. We now have that with Ohtani reaching that mark last night. Ohtani, Judge, and of course Cal Raleigh this season. That joins 2019, Pete Alonso, Cody Bellinger, Christian Yelich. 1998, obviously famous, where 4 players did so. We know about McGuire, Sosa, and Griffey. Sometimes people forget about Greg Vaughn. He also had 30-plus at the All-Star break in 98. 1994, Griffey, Frank Thomas, and Matt Williams. By the way, Matt Williams was the guy that we couldn't think of the other day.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep. And that made me mad because obviously Matt Williams went on to play for Cleveland right at the beginning of my fandom, so that was frustrating. But nevertheless, 1969, Reggie Jackson, Willie McCovey, and Frank Howard are the other examples of 3+ with 30 or more before the All-Star break. Also, Ohtani with 30 homers through the first 86 games, team games. That's the most in Dodgers franchise history. Gil Hodges and Duke Snider had both had 28 in 51 and 55. Brought up George Springer earlier. Second player in Blue Jays franchise history to have a 7+ RBI game against the Yankees, joining Roy Howell on September 10th, 1977. By the way, sir, keep an eye on George Springer today. Okay.
Why is that? This is a little Baines meter watch.
Well, yeah, we could be settling in for maybe, I mean, what would unquestionably be the greatest week of all time. He has a chance to cross the Baines line. He sits right now on the Baines line. He's literally straddling 38.8 right now as we speak. He has a game at 7:07 tonight against the New York Yankees and Will Warren, who I believe had a very rough start in his last outing. So we will see whether George Springer can take advantage and make history against the Bombers. Tune in. Maybe we should stream for that too. Maybe I'll just stream for that.
That's big time.
Shane Baz is the 5th pitcher in Rays franchise history to have a start with 11 or more strikeouts, 1 or 0 walks, but also 2 or more homers allowed. That was obviously against Dallas's A's yesterday, joining Wilson Alvarez, James Shields, David Price, and Chris Archer, exactly the pitchers that you would expect to see on that list. And Paul Skeens, not his most dominant outing, continues to not beat the Cardinals, but he is the first pitcher since earned runs became official in 1913 to have an ERA of 2.05 or lower. His is 2.03, but 4 or fewer wins through the first 18 starts of a season. So a lot of arbitrary numbers there, but never in history has somebody had an ERA this low and this few wins through this number of starts, quite like Paul Skeens. And those are the Nuggs.
Thank you, Justin Havens.
Yep.
I noticed that you didn't have any nugs about Rafael Devers being asked for the Giants, but there's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow.
Yeah, that's maybe I'll do my buddies, all those Red Sox fans, a favor, and you know what? Let's back it up. I got something for you.
What is it?
Have you seen what your boy Roman Anthony's been up to?
I have, yeah. He's been hitting the ball well. Not a ton of extra bases and all that, but yeah, he's been hitting the ball.
No, not a ton of extra bases, but more, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe he had one the other day.
Yep, he did.
So he now has 4 over his last 5 games after having only 3 through his first 15.
Okay, what do we got?
So we're getting there. Signs of life.
Yeah, we'll
get to Rafael Devers next pod, though.
Yeah, I think Roman Anthony, it's just a matter of time. And I think that you can tell because they keep trotting him out there hitting second. It's like, all right, he's hitting $194, but we believe in what's about to happen. And we want that to happen in the 2 slot. So they have a plan. And they're sticking to it.
I'm excited. I'm excited for Kershaw to do it.
Same.
That's my final thought.
Okay. It's a good final thought. We'll go live when there's an opportunity for Kersh to get that 3,000 strikeout. Are you guys going to do the whole game?
No, I don't think anybody intends to do that. I think this is about Clayton Kershaw. So once that situation is resolved, unless Shohei has given us, unless we're on 4 homer watch by that point or something like that, then we can obviously pivot. But no, the purpose of is going to be Clayton Kershaw. So sweet. I know you got other stuff to do, so we'll get people in and out, and hopefully Kershaw, maybe he'll just strike out the side in the first inning, and then that'll be the tightest, most concise stream anybody's ever seen. That'd be great. That'd be very helpful to the cause. All right, Family Feud tomorrow. Yes. Excited for that. Family Feud's back, and Dallas will be back for a full show tomorrow. And any exciting pitching matchups today, Jayhay? Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Miz against Juan Soto. Yeah. I mean, the Miz in general being back on the mound is exciting. Obviously, we're all very excited about him. But just a showdown against one of the game's best, a guy who, shows a little flair in the box from time to time, although maybe not as much as he used to. And a guy who's been one of the best hitters in baseball over the last month plus. I'm excited to see it. Power versus power. Let's do it. All right. That's tomorrow's show. Pretty excited for that. We'll be breaking down that matchup. 102 versus Juan Soto would be nice. And then we have Dallas back again as well. So see you guys there. We gone.